We'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of Nicholas County Board of Education, Monday, August 21st, 2023. And at this time, if you'll please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've changed our agenda around just a little bit, and so number 3, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda?
The only changes we'll have this evening is in the area of personnel. There were several positions filled after the board agenda came out with blanks on them, so we filled in a lot of those blanks. So when we get to the personnel section of the agenda, Ms. Weitzel will come up and go through those changes.
Thank you. Number 4, do we need to vote on that? No. Thank you. Number 4, approve minutes of meetings held on August 10th, 2023. And there were, Ms. Kim sent us a little add-on to that this afternoon. And that add-on is in, it was in red, right?
It's in yellow.
It is on the paper copy. Sorry. Pass it down, please. All it was Chris's stuff was left off. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the meetings of the August 10th, 2023 meeting?
I so move.
Mr. Moose makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, superintendent's information updates. Mr. Bean.
Okay, first of all, we had a call in at 3:30 today with our FEMA attorney. And as you all well know, FEMA has given us permission to pursue any of the 3 options that we presented to them that still meets the 428 plan. We learned today that before the board can act on a particular choice of those, we have to have 2 public listening sessions. Our plans are on September 5th at 4 o'clock and September 18th at 4 o'clock give the public an opportunity to come into the board meeting and voice their opinions on the 3 options. This will not be a meeting where the board gets involved in a back and forth conversation with the public. This is just their opportunity to do that. So the other thing we have to do is we have to put out the 3 options on comment for 30 days. So Mr. Hanshaw is going to be getting that from Marissa this week, and we'll get it up on our website. And it will be available from August 30th to September 30th for people to write their opinions on it. They can do that, and they can still come and voice their opinions verbally at the board meetings if they choose. After those 30 days have passed, at that point then the board can vote at a future board meeting on which the proposals they decide to pursue. So that's kind of where we are with the FEMA. The next thing is, the next couple of days, actually tomorrow especially, we have a lot of open houses. And Mrs. Weitzel and I are going to attend several of those tomorrow. We've kind of divided up the schools, and we're going to try to get to as many schools as we can tomorrow. And the ones we don't get to tomorrow, we're going to try to get in there for the first day of school. So we're hoping that every school will see either Mrs. Weitzel or myself in their school tomorrow or the next day. We just think it's really important. I explained this to our employees today. I think it's really important to be visible in the schools so the kids and the employees know who we are and why we're there. And it's part of the job that I enjoy most, is going out in schools and be around the students. The next item is about the ALC. We had another resignation today of people who worked at the Alternative Learning Center. So we are, right now, we're not scrambling, but we are reorganizing our ALC. And we had planned on having it ready for school on Thursday when the kids first come back, but I made the decision to wait until Monday because I just did not feel we were ready for students that quickly with a new director, and now with new employees we're trying to get in those positions. At the next meeting I will invite Mrs. Robertson, who's going to be hired tonight on our board agenda as our new ALC director, to come and give the board an update on exactly the changes that we've agreed to. And of course we will let the parents know what's going on. This meeting tomorrow will involve some of our staff members, but also the middle school and high school principals that want to participate. Mr. Williams will be here from attendance, and Ms. Mal will be here. I'm going to have a wide variety of people from our office, and we're going to use my office because all the other rooms are packed those days, so it might be a little crowded in there. But we're going to discuss the next steps on changing our ALC program. And those of you that at the first day back today, when I talked about that, it seemed to garner a lot of support. I think a lot of people was anxious to see what it's going to look like, and we certainly are looking to try to make it a little bit more academic based, and we'll provide more information at our next board meeting. The last thing that I have is I've asked Chris Henshaw, if he's in here, he's back there, to come and talk to us about some devices and some insurance issues that we're a little bit concerned about. It's not a voting item tonight, but it is information.
As we roll out our new devices, in the past we haven't really offered anything for parents, and because if they lose the device, then they're covered, or if their child intentionally breaks them or whatever, then they have to pay for the device. So this year I found a company, and actually I talked to Essential about us just becoming an insurance provider. You can pay this dollar amount and it covers loss or damages or whatever that has incurred on the devices, and she says the State Department has said they don't recommend it and that we shouldn't be our own insurance provider. So I have found a company called School Device Coverage, and I know that other counties are using this for iPads. They insure those a bunch cheaper because most of those already have breakage coverage when you buy them, but the Surfaces that we bought doesn't. So the students would have the option with a Surface. So secondary students, middle and high school, would have the option to pay $50 to the insurance company, and that would cover if somebody stole their device, if they lost it, or it broke in any way. That covers that twice per year. So that way they wouldn't be out a $600 device if they lost it or something like that happened.
And for the iPads, it would only be $15 per device. So for the elementary kids, it would be $15 per device, and that covers it for a whole year for loss, damage, whatever happens to it. But they're about the same in price value, so. So I didn't know how the board or Mr. Beam felt about offering that, and that they would know if they lost the device, then they would be, or the secondary, if they broke their device, they would be out of pocket the repairs, or if they didn't purchase the insurance. So that money, we don't collect any money or anything, and the insurance company will actually pay the Nicholas County Board to fix those devices if they're fixable. So we give them a price to fix those, and so we would be recouping a little bit back. So that was the, because, I mean, for me, I'll do it for my kids. I've got 3 kids. I don't need $1,800 worth of devices. You know, I'll gladly pay the insurance on those to, if they lose them or break them or whatever. But, so that was my thought process. Wasn't sure what the board's thought process was, if that would be an acceptable procedure, which we'd really like to start passing those out. So I don't know if you guys think that, I've planned to do that. I guess that's kind of informational. So if you want me to hold off on passing those out and you guys to vote on that, then we can do that. But that was what my plan was to offer for the community.
Now, that would be every student would pay that.
If they chose.
It's up to them.
It's up to them.
What did they do last year?
We didn't have it last year.
We had all iPads and they had all accidental protection. And so the only ones that they would really have to pay for was the ones that they lost or stolen or didn't turn back in, because the rest of them were fixed. We had 2 of them that was damaged so severely that they wouldn't fix, and they had to pay for those. But so,
I don't feel like that's something we need to vote on. I
Okay.
think it's up to the parents, when you all.
Yeah, it's just an option for them, right? They
Mhm.
can either take the insurance or not take the insurance.
correct.
I'll pass it out.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yes.
Is that all for you, sir?
It is, thank you.
Oh, what you want to do? Oh, that's on the agenda. Never mind. That's
Okay. We do have somebody signed up for delegations, and did we have anybody that signed up? Okay, so just the one.
Just Mrs. Austin.
So please, when you get ready, state your name and your address and your purpose and your goals.
You can just turn out your door.
Good evening, Superintendent Bean, Mr. President, board members. I'm Sharon Glasscock. I own Laurel Creek Hardwoods, which is at 192 Riverside Drive, Richwood. Our property adjoins the property at the Cherry River Elementary School. I printed out 2 copies, it's 2 pictures, so you could see what we're hoping you will consider. We would like to maintain our entrance to our log yard. It's only for our sales program, and this is only for pickup trucks. It is not for commercial log trucks or anything like that. It's just pickup trucks. So what happens is we lay the logs out, the buyers come in, and when the buyers come in, they have a lot of equipment that they bring with them. They carry tags, they carry a stapler, they carry a chainsaw, they've got their chaps, and all this with their hard hat, safety glasses, and everything else. And it's been convenient for them and safer for them to just pull in at the access at the top of the road, so that they're not carrying it through our yard. As you can see, it would be a long distance to haul that all the way around. So back The gate has actually been there since about 2005. We purchased the mill in 2002, and when we purchased it, our concern was because we had kids that came across through there. As you can see in the upper picture, there's a tree line that prevented the kids to come across. We added a gate between the end of the trees and then that little section off to the right of it, where the arrow is. So anyways, we put that gate up there to keep the kids from coming through the yards because we did have trouble with that. Right now, it's to our knowledge, and I've not seen a picture of the drawings, that they're going to put a guardrail up there. Well, the guardrail is not going to prevent the kids from coming through our yard. And we would like to maintain that. I believe it would be easy to tie off the existing gate with the wall that they've got there with the fence that's supposed to go up. So we're just asking if you guys would consider that. We would appreciate it, and I think it would be safer for the kids too. So, any questions? The lower picture is after the flood, when the trees were removed and the temporary fence was put up.
Do you have a woven fence around there now, or on part of it?
Yes, it ties off to the power company's fence from that section all the way up. And then the construction crew has their fence blocking our fence right now. So there's no access to it right now.
So plans call for a guardrail across that now, is what they're calling?
That's what I've been told. I haven't seen the plans, I don't know. I don't know that to be, that's just what the construction crews told me.
And you're proposing a gate?
The gate already exists.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm just asking if they'll leave that access open. And like I said, it's not for commercial traffic, it's only for pickup trucks that we use it for. It just makes it a lot easier for those buyers, and then it keeps that safety barrier between us and the kids too. I don't believe there will be any additional cost involved because the gate already exists.
This is on the landscaping and everything, they kind of need to get the truck down through.
Yeah,
Just like back the truck down.
So you're just asking not to block the gate, basically?
and to give us permission to still use the gate, yes.
Whose property is the gate on, Sharon?
I think part of the fence is actually on you guys, where we tied off to the trees. But I believe the gate is on us. I know the one corner of the gate is, I'm not sure about the other end.
Just leave it open, leave it there permanently.
Yes, yes, so that we can access our hours and just want to make it really clear to you, it's not for commercial log trucking or anything like that.
Okay, well, you being a delegation, we will have to, if they decide to put this on next time's agenda, somebody bring that up. I will have to abstain because Sharon is my sister. I liked her calling me Mr. President. She's called me worse. But
Thank you very much for the consideration. And the progress down there looks amazing because it's great to see the progress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 7, discussion, presentation. Brian Sparks, West Virginia Extension Office, Safety Day, Farm Safety Day. We've heard this before.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening, Sharon. Sharon said she had 3 minutes to talk tonight, and she said, Brian, do you have 3 minutes? Because I've never heard you talk less than 3 minutes. So I was a little concerned there, but I come to you this evening with the Western University Extension for a program that we do with the third graders, or have in the past. It's a partnership on safety. And so this will be for every third grader in the county. September 27th is when we would like to have it at the Nicholas County Veterans Memorial Park. And so this safety day consists of sessions that the students will learn about ATVs, lawnmowers, fire, first aid, animal sun, and tractor and PTO are some of the topics that we'll cover with these. What we like to do is coordinate with the transportation director to be able to bus those students in and not mess up the lunch schedule for those kids. So we don't miss out on that count for the attendees for lunch. So some of them, the schools pack a lunch and send them with them, and we make sure they have a place there so they can take care of that. So this partnership is of course, SWU Extension, the Nicholas County Farm Bureau, the City of Summersville, and we're trying to team up with Lowe's this year as a new partner. It's a national program. Every student receives a T-shirt that comes from the national folks, and it always has some kind of little neat farm scene that revolves around safety. And then the national sponsors, are some of the companies that are involved in agricultural issues. But, we try to focus this toward rural education and safety for our students in the area.
So in the past, Brian, the board has picked up the bus cost, correct?
Yes, sir.
We've had this program for 15 or 20 years, haven't we, Brian?
This will be number 19.
Yeah. I knew it. Good program.
It is, I've been to it.
So if you all would be willing to work with us and allow the students to want to attend and be able to bus them, we greatly appreciate it.
We'll vote shortly.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have discussion presentation, J.B. Miller and Kathy Tyree, which are the athletic directors at Richwood High School and Nicholas County High School.
Okay, so my name is Kathy Tyree, I'm the athletic director at Nicholas County High School. This is Mr. Miller.
My wife told me I wasn't allowed to say anything Kathy had to do all the time.
So I came before you guys last year and just kind of gave you a brief overview of kind of the cost of mostly fall athletics, just kind of getting started. So I just kind of revisited that this morning and updated it a little bit. As you can see, we still have the cost of the different balls for the different sports. They were newly adopted, so every sport had to buy them this year, or last year. A lot of sports still have to replenish their softball, baseball in particular. Every year they have to buy those. The next little columns over talks about busing. As we know, everyone knows the cost of transportation is going up. So that's just kind of a quick overview of what each of our sports have paid last year for busing. And it'll be at least that much this coming year. But the biggest thing down there at the bottom, the officials per game, that seems to be the area that keeps increasing for whatever reason. The officials are private contractors, so we really don't have a lot of say in what they charge us. They pretty much kind of drive it. I did notice a typo. Boys soccer and girls soccer is the same. They're both $85. Girls is not cheaper. That is an increase of $10 from last year. Football for Nicholas County High School, because Mr. Miller and I can get different officials. Like, you can go get whatever officials you want. And so I have a pool that I pull from, and he has a pool that he pulls from. I'm lucky in that my pool said, hey, we're still going to do $85. And it kind of depends on how many officials you have. Unfortunately for Mr. Miller, they have increased their cost to $100 per official. And he can have, for football, you can have between 4 and 6 officials. And then depending on how far they come, they're asking for $35 for one driver. So for Ridgewood High School, you could have a $635 charge before the first kickoff. So that's a big chunk of money right there. What we're coming to you guys for tonight is to ask, right now we charge $5 for admission for all games, unless we get into sectional and regional, and then that's driven by something else. But all regular season games are $5. So what we're coming before the board tonight is ask if we could increase this. I do want to note that this is for high school only. I've not spoken to the middle school athletic directors and/or principals, so I don't want to speak for them. I do know that our middle school was in a conference, and last year when we discussed it, they had some concerns about raising their gate prices. So what Mr. Miller and I are asking for is just high school only. I don't want to speak for the middle schools. I don't know about Mr. Miller, but I know when people come into our gate and they'll say how much, and they'll have $5, they'll usually have 6 or 7, and we say, oh, it's $5. They're really surprised. We had a soccer game on Saturday, and I asked them, the team that we play, Grafton, charges $6, but they said some of the state schools north of them charge up to $7 for a ticket. So what we're asking today is that you guys consider increasing the gate prices for the high schools only to, we were asking for $6 or whatever, just to kind of help offset the cost of athletics. Okay.
So we're all well aware that things have gone up.
Absolutely, yes.
And so our students are still going to get in free because of the levy.
Right.
So
employees will still get in free, so that won't change.
So we're just talking about $1 across the board for whoever pays.
Right.
More like that's just a handful of the parents.
Yes, and a lot of times it's our traveling teams that kind of help our gates, especially in some of our sports, soccer, volleyball, those kind of things. And those teams that travel, they're very like, oh wow, only $5.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So will that increase the levy up to 6.2 if we vote on that, or does it stay at whatever that is, amount is?
The levy calls a certain amount, it won't change.
Levy admissions allows $21,900 for Nicholas County High School, and $10,200 for Richmond High School this year in the levy for admissions. So that's money that they get to offset letting students and employees in for free.
So if it goes over that, they're free, basically, right? Because
Right.
if more students, if a bunch of students attend, and it goes over what the levy called, then they're still getting in free, correct?
Right, yes.
So really,
But it wouldn't cost you any more money. I mean, you got a fixed product and a fixed field and a fixed game, so no matter how many goes in there, you're
Right.
getting the levy cost.
right.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't,
Doesn't affect anything.
it doesn't, attendance doesn't affect it.
Any questions?
This would be for all high school sports, right?
All high school sports.
$6 enough? I mean, just saying, you know.
That's kind of up to you. guys.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
What do the counties around us charge? Do you know that?
I think that Fayette County charges 6. I know that like Grafton charges 6. I'm not sure about Braxton. I'm not sure.
Well, that may be up to us, but your recommendation will carry a lot of weight. What are you all recommending?
We felt like 6, just so, and Mrs. Mullins, our financial lady, and I didn't catch her before she left today, had actually done a workup, not last year, I think, but the year before us, during basketball season, is comparing if we charged 5, but if we had charged 6, what a difference it would have made. It's a pretty significant difference. I mean, it's $1 for me, but how many dollars is it for all of us?
Now, the gatekeepers that you all pay, is that going to increase or is that going to stay the same? Don't you all pay gatekeepers?
Yeah, we do pay our gatekeepers.
It stays the same, you're all going to try to increase it? or-
We increased hours last year to kind of meet theirs because we were paying less than they were, and we didn't realize it, so we kind of increased ours to meet theirs last
So
year.
does it stay the same? or-
Yeah.
the price stays?
Yeah. Although they're gonna have to do harder math. From $5 to
Yeah,
$6.
there you go.
Yeah. Cheat sheet.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Okay, discussion presentation on, an update review on the testing. Dr. Lee.
Good evening. It's that time of year again. Some of us love it, some of us hate it. This evening I have to share with you the assessment results. They've been unembargoed or released by the Department of Ed as of last Wednesday. So what I've done for you is I've gathered you a nice little folder to take with you to review. And you will see on the left-hand side of the folder, we have accountability data. And you'll notice on the slide, I just want to remind you that that is the polished data. That's the data that will be used for assessing schools with the balanced scorecard. It includes the testing data for all kids who were there a full academic year. So if someone transfers in the middle of April and they've been with us 20 days and they take the test, their scores are not going to be counted in this accountability data. Okay? It does include all the students who take the GSA, which is the General Summative Assessment, which is grades 3 through 8. It includes the students in 11th grade that are taking the SAT, and it includes any of our students who are taking the DLM or whatever the alternative assessment of the year would be. Okay? So that's the data we're going to look at this evening. Just for your own information, I also included the raw data, which is what we shared with the principals when they came back to school. That includes everyone. And the purpose of looking at that is it really lets you have a picture of what the curriculum is happening, or what's happening with the curriculum and with instruction within the classroom. That includes all kids. So even if a student happens to come in 3 days before the testing window, their information is in that. Clear as mud, right? Okay, where are we as a county? Overall, if you're averaging everything together, we're looking at some proficiency rates of 31.7 in math, 36.3 in ELA, and 21.2% in science. Keep in mind, science is only assessed at grade 3 and 8 with the GSA, and then there are some science passages in with the SAT. Okay? Once again, this is reflective of all students at all grade levels at all schools. Okay, in your folder, you will find, I killed a few trees today, but I know it's a whole lot easier sometimes to take the paper and look at it than it is to try to scroll and find it online and then remember where you found it. But you'll see a printout of all of the counties. And what I've done is I sorted the counties from the greatest proficiency rate to the lowest proficiency rate. And as you know, we've been really trying to focus our instruction, including small groups, making it standards-based, and really up the ante, because our goal is to be in the top 10 districts in the state. We're not quite there yet, but you'll see I've highlighted Nicholas County in yellow, and then the surrounding counties, what used to be the RESA 4 counties, in green, so we can kind of see where we fall in comparison to our neighbors. If you look at the top right-hand corner of each page, you will see the first one is math, the next one is reading/ELA, and the next one is science. Okay, another way that we're asked to look at our data when we start disaggregating it is to look at it by subgroups. Okay, One subgroup that we look at, and I did not print for you, is the gender, because there's not really much of a discrepancy in that for Nicholas County. Pretty much we're 50-50 or 49-51. Those two groups run very similar, but where we start to see some discrepancies are when we break it apart by ethnicity. And if you look, I've gone ahead and printed for you a report of that slide, and once again, you will have math, reading, and science for all of our different subgroups. So here we have some great areas of concern. When we start looking here, we have 0% proficient here. That is with science. The other way that we're looking at our data is by status. And what I mean by status, you will see there are different categories across the bottom, one of which is economically disadvantaged. Those are our families that receive direct certification through DHHR. We have English language learners. We have homeless. We have military connected, special education, and then of course the total. Once again, you have math. You have reading. And science.
Total and average. There's a total and average.
Yeah, it's the percent proficient. So of all the students that would be in this group, so for example, this science, all of our students that are military connected, 50% of them are proficient in science.
Okay. Based on number.
Based on who all fits that descriptor. Okay, the other page that I've shared with you is our proficiency rates by grade and subject. And you'll see here, it just gives you a visual picture with the bar of what the proficiency rates are as we go into grade levels, and just very common as we go up in grade levels, sometimes that proficiency is starting to drop, really drops a lot at the middle school. Okay, and the next pages that I have for you.
I'm sorry. Is there no science in 6 and 7?
No, they only test science at 5th grade because it's on the standards that they should be teaching in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And then they only assess science in 8th grade, but it's based on the standards from 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade.
Thank you.
And then the last pages I threw in here for you as a little surprise, because I didn't have them done yesterday, and I got some information today that sped it up. So I went ahead and gave you, it's the same type of information, it's just sorted a little differently, and it's at the school level, whereas what we just went over was county level. I know some of you like to look at the individual schools. Now this, instead of being sorted highest to lowest, it's actually sorted the opposite direction. It's lowest to highest. And the reason being is as we move into this next month with the accountability system, they'll be doing the balanced scorecard for our schools. And if we look at the parts that are yellow, that's about 20%. So we can kind of see, okay, how close to being in jeopardy of needing improvement are we? So that's kind of why that's in the opposite direction. But you have, once again, 11th grade. So that would be the high school classifications for reading and math. You see we've got one there that's highlighted red, could be of concern. Then you've got middle school, which it says grades 5, 6, 7, 8 across the top. We have one that's floating up there in the yellow that could be of concern. And then at the elementary level, we have one that's floating in amongst the yellow that could be of concern. So you got a lot of homework now, don't you?
Now, these proficiency rate status, when you did the bars,
Uh-huh.
that's for the whole
That is for
county?
the whole
Do
county.
you all break it down between Richwood and Nicholas?
Each principal, when they get their balanced scorecard, will have every subgroup for their particular school, and they can look to see how they compare to the county. And we should be getting a balanced scorecard. I haven't gotten anything that Mr. Bean has, but usually they come out in September. That kind of lets us know, and we'll go over that once it comes. I know what you're going to ask. Where's Birch River? If they don't have enough testable students, they don't show up on the list.
Okay. Answer my question.
Okay. If there's no questions on that pretty accountability data, then on the right-hand side, what I did was I just gave you a copy of what we gave the principals. This is the raw data. It's going to look a little bit different than the accountability data. This is the unofficial. This is what we use for decision-making prior to the start of school. And I also gave you a copy of what I gave them at principals meetings about the IXL and where we were, so they could kind of look at it in tandem and say, okay, here's where we were with IXL, here's where we ended up with at GSA.
So that was my next question. Is it comparable?
In places, what we've done, we've been working on, is we've taken every student's GSA score, we are superimposed it into a spreadsheet along with where they were with IXL at the end of the year, in the middle of the year, and we're looking to see where the sweet spot would be, but we don't have an official number yet.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. In our spare time. But I think it'll be valuable information if we can really get to where we can tell the kids, if you can get to whatever the magic number is, you're likely going to be able to be okay on your test, then it'll be worth it.
I believe, since I'm a non-educator, sometimes it's advantage, sometimes it's disadvantage. Can you give me your assessment of your take on what this data, are you pleased with the data, not pleased with the data? I mean, I can read the data.
There are places that we have strengths. There are also areas of concerns. When I look at 7th grade, it really gives me heartburn because that group is really struggling. Both ends of the county, both subjects areas, 7th grade has been our lowest issues.
You have a reason, can you pinpoint what that may be? Or?
I wish I could. I think it's a lot of contributing factors. I think with that grade especially, when you look at where they were COVID year, and
This would have been last year's 7th grade, correct?
right, the ones that just left 7th grade, they're going to 8th grade now. But when we look here at where we were with the COVID year with our trend data, where those kids were, so that if they were 7th grade here, 6th, 5th, it would have been that 4th grade year that they missed. So after they've learned to read, they're not real good at reading, but then when it's time to ramp it up, they've missed that whole year. I think mathematically, that's a huge year, because that's when you're getting into fractions, decimals, ratios, and percents. Well, everything you do in middle school math is based on those foundational skills. So if you missed that in grade 4, grade 5 is when we came back and did half days and all that crazy stuff. Now you're being thrown into middle school and you don't have your foundation in place. This year, for those of you that weren't here, this year we did the assessments, but basically it was whoever was there, because that's when we were doing 2 days and 2 days, and then everybody came back, and there was not a requirement that 95% of your kids be tested, so this I would look at very lightly. Then we started requiring again last year. But we're, oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. We're still not where we were pre-COVID, which is still concerning to me, because this gold is our ELA, The blue is the math, and the red is the science. And when you think about it, I mean, it makes sense that the science has such a huge drop because it's hands-on. And of course, with COVID, we stopped doing a lot of hands-on.
Well, and those, when we got them back, we really tried to get
Right, we
reading
tried to
math.
make up for it, and but we're still not there. I can't get close to that, I'm almost there. And at the principals meeting, each principal, Christie had them complete a spreadsheet where they go in and they look at each sub-area that was tested to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses were, and if any of their particular instructional standards had a significant weakness. So they've done that at the school level.
Will there be a plan in place to teach them at the 8th grade level, so these 8th graders now, that was the 7th graders last year? Is there a plan in place to try to catch them up? Plus, I mean, you can't go forward if you don't back up and get what they missed, right?
Yeah.
Do we have fewer qualified teachers in science? I know it's hard to keep.
I think in science, we're pretty good right now. I think we still have a vacancy in math at Richwood Middle, is that correct? Did it get filled this time?
Richwood High School, I believe, is the vacancy in math.
But that has been an issue in the past, trying to keep certified people in and out.
You're right, it is in middle school too. Middle school and high school at Richwood.
Okay, if there are no other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think.
You think?
And hey, before you go, did we increase at all from last year? Overall?
Yes, in some places. And we had some really bright spots. When you go looking at the school level data, you'll see Mount Lookout is number 16 in math and out of the whole state, and 24th in ELA. So we do have some bright spots with good things happening. We just need to make sure that it becomes across the county and not just in spots, because all kids should be entitled to that.
I agree. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to action items. Action item A, discussion with possible action on determining which fields at the Glade Creek site are to be built. Mr. Hanshaw. He's going to put that up on the screen.
Okay. So that is the current, is this in your guys' way to do this?
I'm okay.
Okay. So the current configuration is set up like this. Remember, the school configuration will change. So ZMM will present the numbers on their removing some of these later. But remember, there are changes also going to be a parking lot reconfiguration and things of that. So the current configuration calls for a football field with a track, and that in the current contract is being prepped for turf. So the drainage and gravel will be laid down for that. Remember, there is no facilities currently, like there's no stadium or fencing or anything like that included in MNH's contract. So I do believe though there is conduit running from here to out there, so stuff's going to be stubbed out maybe. I think that was in there. The soccer field, this was a soccer field that was being planned. It is all turf. It's being prepped for turf. Oh, that's the soccer field. That's the full practice field. That was grass. That was being prepped for grass to begin with. However, this half practice field is being prepped for turf right now as well. And like I said, there was a field house that's not in the current plan. It's on the plan, but it's not being built, and it's not in MNH's contract at the moment. So then you had two softball fields, one for high school, one for middle school. Both of those are being prepped for turf, and then you have a high school or middle school, the same size field, baseball field that's being prepped for turf. So, I guess what your decision is, how many do you think you need all of them? Do you think you don't? Do you want to turf everything? You know, you can have 2 softball fields, 1 grass, 1 turf if you wanted to save money. I don't know, I don't know. So you need to think of the combination, and that's what ZMM is going to give you prices on, is what the board thinks they need, what they don't. I know that middle school does have football and track. Middle school has soccer. So, and at the moment, the soccer is sharing field, the stadium with Nicholls County High School practice. And the middle school football team practices behind the old, where the middle school was, and that grassy area back there. Yeah, it's a swamp and a floodway. It's not a very good piece of ground to practice on. So, if approved, also I think you could, if he's, since he's graveling and draining these fields, there may be a possibility of finishing them even before the building's finished, and they could start using those facilities early, since they don't have a real good place to practice and stuff. But that would take a lot of coordination, because this would be a lot of construction zone, and you're going to be busting kids and stuff into that.
You're doing that Cherry River.
Yeah, well, we're not busting kids in there. But I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm just saying that's a possibility. So,
Chris, let me ask you a question, not regarding that, but kind of regarding that. Where the middle school football is currently practicing, if you go up where the school actually said there's a baseball field or something, what is that?
that was the field that the middle school, a kind of a travel team headed that up for middle school softball, because currently they share the softball field for games and practices with Nicholls County High School in that one field. So that configuration, the dugouts were never built, and I'm not...
Yeah, the concrete slabs are there.
The slabs are there, the blocks are there, they just need somebody to lay them. I don't know what fell apart there. I think they were supposed to, the organization that was doing it said that if we got the stuff there, they would get it done, but something went awry in that process.
So the question, it was a softball field for the middle school.
Yeah.
That's what it was intended to be.
Yeah, the middle school practices there, but they still play their games on the high school field. So, and I know there's a retaining wall already built here. This retaining wall, all those that's already built and done. Like, that's, if you guys haven't had a chance, I would love to walk you guys through there and show you what the site looks great. That's actually a pretty impressive wall. That wall, this retaining wall is about 30 foot tall. So basically what you would be eliminating is gravel and drainage and having to cover it with grass if you voted that way. So I didn't get a date from Mr. Campbell or Ferguson when they want to bring their president, but they're still getting all their stuff together to get to you. But
I don't think they gave a date as far as the deductions.
yeah, I didn't hear that. But I know that he hasn't started graveling or anything. I know these retaining walls are done, but he's just finishing up the center area of the site.
Back in the day when my kids attended, I think it was a middle school band. Was there still a middle school band?
There is middle school band, and that was part of that process too. If you had that full practice field as band could use it, soccer could use it. Because usually right now, they go out maybe on the high school baseball field a lot. But
They play football, track, and soccer, correct?
and softball.
They play softball.
And there's been several people discussing with me about starting a middle school baseball team. There's a lot of counties around us that have one. So, and that would be the same size field.
Parking areas that they talk about, they're going to shrink, I think. Is that because it's middle school and elementary and a lot of, they don't need as much parking because kids don't drive? Why are they shrinking? I know the footprint shrinks.
Right, well, there'll be less students. You're going,
I think there'll be 1,000 students there.
well, right now you have 650 kids, or 550 in middle school and 750 in high school. So
That's
1,300 kids. So you'll be going down to about 1,100 kids. There's 200 people, about 200 kids less. But you won't have student drivers. And they was talking about if you would do away with some of the athletic fields, then you wouldn't need all that parking because you wouldn't have those events there. So that was what he was discussing was if you did away with those fields, then they would back off on the parking because you wouldn't need that parking.
And that's part of the exercise they're going through to see
Right.
if we want to do a change order or a deduction from Carson's contract or M&H's contract.
Yep.
And they're considering putting AstroTurf on a middle school field, football field?
Like, it's cheap to have AstroTurf and just grass a lot of time. There's not a lot of difference.
So really,
Maintenance-wise.
it depends on the traffic, and I'll say that, so you could never, right now, you could never get away with grass at the Memorial Stadium, because there's literally people on that field 6 and 7 days a week. So if you have grass, it has to have time to regenerate. It has to have, and it just depends on your traffic that you have there. So since, like, Richwood doesn't have soccer, so that gives them, because soccer practices all week, just like football, and then they have their tournaments there too, but there's just not as much traffic there. So, and that was the reason Nicholas County got theirs was there could be grass on the field. It was just dead all the time because of where.
Well, they're on the field every day at Richwood. There's something on that field every day. Little leagues, little football players
Yeah.
practice there. They all practice. It's used a lot.
You know, for the rest of the board, when we did have our meeting with FEMA, the construction committee, FEMA's attorney was very adamant that FEMA mentioned athletic fields 2 or 3 times in their approval process. And she kind of indicated that she doesn't want to cut those fields down. She was encouraging us not to do too much and cut down the fields. That's what the attorney said, Marissa.
Yeah, I think,
Well,
Is that correct, Chip?
yes, and,
Didn't they say they wanted them to be countywide,
yes, that
Yes,
was another
so-
thing.
available to the whole county?
Available to the whole county.
And to be honest with you too, a lot of people don't realize it, but there's actually other counties that we share with sometimes. Webster County doesn't have a track, so they come to Richwood. I think, well, I know West is requesting to use our stadium, because their field's getting new turf. And so, seems like Braxton County came to use ours for track. Yeah, they don't have a track either, I think. So our fields are used a lot.
Sorry, Mr. Berry.
but no, Kevin did a study on the expense, 10-year expense.
It wasn't a whole lot different.
No, I think maybe the past was a little more to take care of than the turf. Of course, you got.
Maintenance-wise, turf is nothing to take care of as opposed to grass. But you do have we just re-turfed the stadium, and I think it was $400,000. So you have the $400,000 investment.
Up front, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they talking about turf on all the fields or just football fields?
The current, M&H is currently in their
Prepping.
contract,
Yeah.
prepping for football, soccer, half soccer, and all baseball, all days.
For turf.
For turf.
So they're going to gravel.
Gravel and curb and drainage is there for that.
The worst part about it is we don't have the money for all of it.
Well,
Do we still put $10,000 a year away for the
Yeah.
AstroTurf at the Nicholas County
Yes.
football field? Do we do that for Richwood?
No.
No, because they treat that field. We hire somebody to take care of that field.
We do. They have It was 30 or 40, when Rocky did that study, it was $30,000 or $40,000 in field costs per year
With grass.
for the grass as opposed to nothing for turf. I mean, it's an initial big investment, but after that, you just have to groom it sometimes and that's it.
Did he say turf on every one of
Except for this practice field was grass.
He said that, I'm saying with turf, but that Carson is, in his contract, is preparing the gravel and everything, so you would turf them. If you were going grass, you wouldn't put all that gravel there.
Right, you wouldn't curb and gravel it and have all that drainage.
But the gravel underneath it, they filled that all in where the wall was gravel. Tons of gravel.
You're gonna, there's a soccer field and a practice soccer field?
Well, that's a practice field at soccer or football or the band or right here. Anybody can use that.
Football.
Okay.
That was going to be grass.
Band, that's grass.
You know, another expense with the grass was that you have to pay somebody to line it, or it has to be lined.
And that, we've had a lot of issues with getting them lined. And I looked at, actually they have these pretty cool GPS line, little motorized things that'll line it for you. And it was $20,000 a year. And they charge you per year for it.
Chris, let me ask you a question. If the board,
I can put this in your board packet if you want.
Yeah, you would.
if the board down the road decides on a K-8 school, for example, just as an example,
Right.
where would the playground be?
Well, so that would have to be so this is more square footage than the other two schools would be. There may be room inside for me, that's a long ways away for a playground to be from the school. So I imagine, because this is all green area, I imagine some of that would be around, I imagine the playground would be around the
So
school.
you take the back of that building where the vocational was, you take that off.
To put this into scale, remember, this little part right here is the middle school and one gym. So the rest of that is the high school and the career center. So that's a lot of square footage that's going to be coming out of there, which creates a lot of green space around there. I don't think a playground would be an issue. Because there's already a lot of green space around there, even with that square footage.
Do you have any idea how much, like, your football stadium would cost,
Well,
in the
it would,
previous plans?
so it would be the same as what we just, it may even be, because they had to haul that old turf out. So I think, Fallon, do you remember how much that was?
I don't remember exactly.
Like
I was thinking like 450.
450, so you're looking at 450 to cut that, and probably, because that's not a finished track, so it'd take probably 100,000. 100,000 is the top of the track, right?
Yeah, I said track would be more than that. I don't know what it would be that.
I mean, I honestly think to finish out this field, it'd be safe to say $1 million to finish that. And that would be your most expensive one.
Now,
But you said there's no facilities of any kind included in that, right?
Well, so for middle school, you would just have some, not very many, the bleachers, and you wouldn't have that huge stadium like you would for a high school.
Yeah.
So that cost would be that high. But yeah, that's correct, that doesn't include dressing rooms or anything right there. Because that was in this facility right here. That was the dressing rooms, concession stand, and a few other things right there.
Oh, okay. For all of it?
For all of it, yeah, this was for all of it.
Okay.
So that when you had an athletic event, none of this had to be accessed. You stayed out of the school, away from the school, you just parked over here, and the teams dressed there, concessions there, and then they would go wherever they was going. If there was a soccer game, they would just come over to the soccer field, they would have locker rooms there.
Chris, when you made that call, I asked the questions, could FEMA money be spent on the fields? And they said yes. Are they just talking about the drainage stuff, or are they talking about if there was money available, can it be used toward the turfing of the fields?
Absolutely, and the way that it's been the whole time is, as long as we get the scope of work completed, we get our school built. Whatever money is left, We can spend it on whatever we want, wherever we want, as long as we apply for a change in scope of work after that's completed. So, yeah, and, I mean, to do it early would mean you'd run the risk of not having enough to build the building. But yes, they said we can do it. The whole time they said, once you finish your scope of work and there's money left, you can change that scope of work and.
So shouldn't we have the bids in before you would have to make the decision to go ahead and turn?
Well, that's not going to be a real possibility. Well, and I'll say this, so, remember, M&H's contract is supposed to be up August 31st, which they're not going to be done, but they could reduce their contract or reduce their obligations in the contract and not gravel, turf, and all that. So it's kind of, if you take them out now, you're going to pay an exorbitant amount of price to put the same thing back later. Because remember, when that contract was bid, diesel fuel was $2 a gallon. So that's the cheapest you'll ever get them if you want to turf it. But if you take, so you can take them out now, but it may cost you a lot more later to get the same product. If the plan is to turf them, then it will cost you more to stop it now and do it later. But if your plan is to never turf it, then it would.
We've already put millions of dollars in these schemes, you know, fair.
I mean, the whole site package, yeah, the walls was a cost, which we reduced the cost of that wall when we extended the LOD. Remember how we had to do those studies and we moved that out. So they sloped that bank and reduced the height of those walls. Saved us about $400,000, I think, $400,000 off of that. But yeah, that's, I mean, M&H's contract, I think, is a $15 million contract to level that place.
So it sounded like to me they were going to present us the proposal.
Yeah, that's why I was going to encourage you guys not to vote on this tonight.
And that was going to be my suggestion.
Yeah.
I don't think we should vote on this
To
tonight.
just kind of look at it and chew the fat, so to speak, and then wait till after they make their presentation on your options.
Right.
Because they'll place dollar amounts of these configuration changes. And I'll drop these in your team.
So again, the dollar amounts with their changes will just be for the grading, the sub, and the gravel.
Correct.
They're not going to show you a dollar amount on the turf itself.
Yes, so their dollar amount is going to be removing that from the project, which
You're removing the turf.
you're essentially saying we're going to grass it and maybe not even put fields there. You know, because that's drainage and everything.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Chris. Action item B, approval of the renewal contract with Susie Odell, contract bus driver. And I believe that's over in the Omni Fallview, I think. Action item C was the approval of the Progressive Farm Safety Day to be held on September 27, 2023 at Veterans Memorial Park for all third grade students. And of course, the board would pick up the bus cost on that if approved. Action item D was the discussion with possible action on increasing gate admission for athletic events. My personal opinion on that is everything's gone up, that we're gonna have to raise the gate price at least $1. That's my. And then, of course, action item E was approval of contract with Kathy Dickey for professional development for $750. Does anybody have any discussion on any of those?
You're gonna vote on them all together, so do we want to put a $6 price on
Yeah, you should.
D? Or do we need a motion to put a $6 price, or how do
You
you
need a
want to
motion for that.
I would, we could approve these all at once with the motion for $6.
I'll make a motion to increase the gate admission for the athletic events to $6. For the high schools only.
Okay, so are you making a motion to approve action items A, B, C, D with an E? What?
Not in.
Oh, not A, sorry. Should have written it. Are you making a motion, Steve, to approve action items B, C, D, and E with D being $1, $6 for gate admission at the high school?
That is my motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
You have a second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, consent items. Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, first we have payment of current invoices. Were you guys able to review those, and did you have any questions about any of those?
The modular lease, 59,342, is that for all the modular for the county to FEMA?
That is to the modular company. There are two different vendors for modulars.
Okay.
I believe one is Ample, yeah, at 18.3 for Ample, and then the other is Modular Genius, and that's, I believe those were reserved the 1% of the middle, so the Ample would be Ridgewood.
And that's FEMA reimbursed.
Correct, correct. It is right now, yes.
On that, the ZMM, the 97,008, is that payment of other employees? Because I know Skanska and some of them work under them, don't they?
Right, we don't pay Skanska directly, we pay ZMM and then ZMM.
And that's probably what this is.
Right, so when you see a check to ZMM, all of that money doesn't go to ZMM, it goes to some subs.
And we had that discussion today, in fact, on our call.
$11,545 for the carpet floor store for maintenance. Do you know what that was?
I believe that was for the high school, Nichols County High School.
Nichols County High School, the auditorium, if you were in there today, that carpet just got put down a couple weeks ago. It was in pretty bad shape.
Looked like several of the seats were different too, had been replaced. It looked like they'd done some replacement.
The seats in the middle were actually replaced, I think, it's been a long time ago. I think that's why they're mismatched color. I think they probably got a bargain on the burgundy.
Well, hopefully we have some extra money to,
Those seats are in some of those seats are in pretty bad shape. They've had a lot of work done to them, but they're in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, they're 30-some years old. Yeah, almost, 47.
Yeah, they're pretty old. And some of them I think are beyond repair. So.
And then the $870,000 on the P card for the iPads. Now, that's for the whole school system, but I noticed we got, Mr. Bayless is going to, is that
Yes.
a different type of iPad, or?
Yeah, he's getting all-in-one computers
Okay.
for the, and that's to be coming out of some ESSER money, the COVID money.
I see we've got to check there, the SQP, was that straightened out the problem?
No,
No,
no.
but we're paying them anyway?
That was the only payment they'll get, I
Oh,
believe,
that
until
was
April.
before.
When we get invoices that are approved for,
I'm sorry.
when we get those invoices that are approved, they go through all the steps and are approved, we go ahead and cut a check for those, and then we wait until we're reimbursed from FEMA, and then we release the check to the company. So when, like these checks to ZMM, these aren't necessarily going out to ZMM right away. We'll wait until we get our reimbursement, and then we'll send those checks to ZMM.
Okay.
So that's, if SQP is on there, that's why we haven't sent them the money, but we are ready whenever everything falls in place and we get our reimbursement to pay them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think you can go on to
Okay?
contracts.
Okay. Contracts, we have one for Star Weld and Centos. And those are just, let's see, Star Weld is contract and cylinder agreement. That's just something standard that we, I think, have every year. And the same with Centos, that's just a continuation of our agreement with them that both needed approved. So that's just, those are included.
Centos' uniforms and roads.
And then for this SQP change directive, that's just something that needed approved. I don't, I'm not super clear about the details on the change directive, but if you have questions about that, we can certainly ask ZMM or Skanska. But that was just something that needed approved, so I brought it to you to approve.
On those rental for the clothing, do we still buy bus drivers' jackets to wear?
Since I've been here, since I've been here, we have not.
Yeah, I know we did a while back.
I know I think they used to do that.
I didn't know if that had changed.
Since I've been here, I haven't heard anything of it, and we haven't purchased any.
You'd probably know about it. Yeah,
I'm sure someone would have told me.
Yeah. But I didn't know about it, so that's why I asked.
Yeah.
I knew we did it one time.
I wouldn't have heard about it.
And in addition to those contracts, we have bids that have come through. TSS Photography for photos for Nicholas County High School, Fox Photographics for yearbooks for Nicholas County High School, TSS Photography for all photography for Panther Creek. And then, as you mentioned, Tom has given us a bid to approve for all-in-one computers. And that's what I handed out to you at the beginning of the meeting.
Which is paid for out of COVID money.
Right.
That include the all-in-one computers that?
Yes, that handout that I gave you is.
That's it, okay.
Yeah, he just needed a little bit of clarification from them to make sure that they were including everything that he needed. And so then that email there is where he's clarified that, yes, it does include everything that he needed.
And SQP, $59,389.58.
And that's in the payment of current invoices.
That was a change order.
That's a change directive, so it's not even a change order yet. And it maybe won't be, maybe it might be already absorbed in some of the costs that we're already slated to have. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with what that change directive is. We can ask questions about it if we need to. It was just something emailed to me that needed your signature, so. If we have further questions about that, we can certainly ask them.
Did ZMM see that?
Yes.
It went through ZMM?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any, do you have anything under information?
Well, that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Eckel?
There was one item in there, to $13,332 computer tech reimbursement for SES.
We pay the SESC for our computer techs. They're not on our payroll. We pay Southern Educational Service Agency for the technology services. So we pay them every month to reimburse for those people.
We pay them every month, but it depends on the services, or the amount of services.
They provide the tech, the person.
So,
Okay.
so Mr.
They're
Moose, like,
providing the person, we're reimbursing them.
how many computer techs you have, Chris? 2 or 3?
I have 3 from SCSC.
That's basically all we're paying through there except one other position, right? Okay, do we have a motion to accept the consent items under finance? 1, payment of current invoices, contracts for Starwell, Centos, SQP, change directive, cost proposal number 13, and the bids for Nicholas County High School TSS Photography, Nicholas County High School Fox Photographic, PCE TSS Photo, and NCCT TC possible acceptance on the all-in-one computers. Do we have a motion to accept all those?
I'll make that motion if there's no questions.
Okay, Mr. Berry makes a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Green. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Kristen. That brings us to number 10, personnel.
Good evening. It's a busy time with personnel, as you can see. I was perhaps a little over-optimistic, and unfortunately, we have some strikes on here. We were hoping that we could fill as many positions as possible before the start of the school year, but unfortunately, we did not have as many applicants as possible. So we do have some strikes, but we do have some last-minute additions. We had all of the postings that we could come down Friday at 3 o'clock so that the principals could look at the applicants today and possibly make some last-minute recommendations. So those are in yellow under professional. Amy Robertson, she's going to be the Director of Secondary Education and Alternative Learning Center. She was actually at the training this morning, and some of you got to meet her. The long-term sub in PE Health STEM Greenhouse at Birch River is Heather Leach Jones. Special education teacher, LDBD MIAU at Summersville Middle School, Elizabeth Burkholder. Social studies flex teacher at Witchwood High School and Richwood Middle School, Russell Gray. Wellness PE Health Middle School, Summersville Middle School is Alexander Keffer. And then under service, we have an itinerant LPN/transportation/instructional aide. That's a new position, and that's Shayna Smith. Also under service, we have an early childhood classroom assistant teacher, or referred to as ECAT, at Glade Creek Elementary, Rebecca Parsons. Custodian 3 at Richwood High School, that's a 240-day contract. 6 to 2, that's Gary Adams. Custodian 3, Mount Lookout, 20-day contract, Amy Roberts. And then under substitute service, Joyce Hamrick, in her resignation, she also wanted to be a substitute custodian day-to-day. And then Ellie Ward is the substitute 3, Cherry River long-term.
Any questions?
We are also asking to strike the positions that are struck through. We did not have applicants, and we'll be reposting for some long-term subs through the end of the first semester while we seek to get additional teachers.
Do we have a JRTC instructor?
We have not had any applicants. My understanding that position has been posted most of the summer. There is a sub that worked in there last year, I believe. I believe it was also vacant most of last year.
So we're probably in danger of losing that program.
Again, there was a sub that worked in it last year, so we will have to talk with the principal to see if that sub would come back. But it is something that we need, if we want to keep, we need to recruit and try to find somebody.
Yeah, I know they've told us in the past if we didn't keep an instructor there, we wouldn't have a program.
And I believe you have to have 2 instructors.
Yes.
So one is there, and then a sub was also there. So it's a really good program, and we would like to fill that.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Berry. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carried. Reports, SESC, Mr. Ferguson.
What? Who you gonna say aye?
Oh.
Just had been a long day.
I understand.
The SC met on Wednesday, August 16th at 11 o'clock. Superintendent Beam attended in person, and I attended virtually by Microsoft Teams. Summary of the discussions were they appropriated more resources to finish the policy manual project. That should be a generic manual that each county board can adapt to their own if they so choose. We listened to a presentation on PRISMS, and that's a math education delivery system. It's transforming math education using real-life situations, starting in Algebra 1 in 7th and 8th grades. And it was really interesting. I think McDowell County may get a grant or try to do something with it, but they actually put these virtual goggles on them, and they go into real life. The cost for the hardware, I think the one board member from McDowell asked, and it was around $25,000. But I don't know about the goggles and stuff, but it was an interesting thing, and I think we'll kind of wait and see what kind of cost scenarios they come up and whether Terrence wants to recommend or not. We listened to a presentation on the Bento USI Dental, and they want a letter of intent for the boards to sign. If interested, I'll let Terrence talk maybe a little bit about that, Terrence.
Yeah, I actually talked to Kristen a little bit about that last week. It sounds like a program. Kristen, which company are we using right now?
We use American Benefit.
American Benefit. My understanding was that some of the school systems are using a company, an insurance company, who are really slow about getting the dentists paid. And that this program got the money in their hands a lot quicker. They even made the comment that before the patient left the dental office, they had already been paid up front. So I don't know if I forwarded it to you yet or not, or I did send it to Kristen, to talk to those people and see if it's something we ought to consider in the future.
We also talked about a recent 2-day principal training that 151 people attended. They talked that it was a very passionate mass casualty active shooting training. And they revisited the subject of the virtual charter schools and how it can affect brick and mortar schools, specifically the testing of students when they return to your school. And the take on that basically was that don't give up on these virtual students. Don't just turn them away because they're not going to come to your brick and mortar. Try to get them into the school system's virtual training, because if you don't, you're going to get those schools back as a 11th and 12th grader when they're going to be tested. And those test scores will go against you. So they were just reiterating the purpose of the competition of chartered virtual schools. And then it was about an hour and 40-minute meeting, and then the meeting adjourned at 12:40. And that's my report, Mr. President.
Okay. Bright Horizons, Mr. Green.
We had a meeting last week, and right now, I think we're going to have 2 Richwood students attending Bright Horizon. And I think Nicholas County High School had 1 student throughout the summer, and if she would like to go back, we can provide the transportation to get her there. I mean, I think they're an hour or 2 a day. But to me, this is their vocation. You know, that's where they go and just like a regular student have their day. So. And we're excited to get them there. I mean, the staff and all of them's excited. So, but last year we had some staffing issues that prevented our students to go on our side, not Bright Horizons. But I think that will be taken care of this year.
I think they rode vocational classes. They used to.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we'd have to work out. And they asked me if I'd ask if they could rent a bus or something one day to bring their whole staff, like to the movies in Summersville or something. I don't know. Legally, we can do that.
We do that.
I mean, that's something, because we got 3 handicapped clients that need to ride we'll have to have a handicap accessible bus. So. But that's something I told them I'd ask. You know, and they have their own bus driver, think about it. He works there also. So, I mean, maybe that's something we can work out later on. Other than that, everything's going very well there. We're excited to have some students coming in every day.
Okay, items for future agendas.
I make a motion that we approve Mrs. Glasscock's request on the next agenda.
I would suggest that and I agree with that, I would suggest that she send us an exact request, something we could put into a board agenda for a vote. So I was trying to interpret exactly what she's asking for. If she put that in writing, I think it'd be helpful for us.
Would you have to go through ZMM or get some kind of redesign?
Well, after we get the official request, then we can share it with everybody to see if, make sure that it's something we'd be able to approve.
Right.
Before we approve something.
Have you actually looked at that, Chris? Does it go all the way up to the road?
The guardrail does go to the road. Yeah, it would be a,
So it closes all flat if the guardrail goes clear.
yeah, it closes off her gate up here. And, but I think the wall, there's a retaining wall, but I think that comes before her road. So I don't know what the redesign would be.
Just
That's,
short
I
the
think
guardrail?
that his suggestion's spot on perfect. Have her to suggest it, and then we'll send it to them and talk about it on Monday call
Okay.
and see if we would incur any cost for doing that. If so, how much?
Yeah, I just wanted to put it on the agenda for discussion, I wasn't making a vote on it. I think
Right.
Terrence's observation is very good. She need to be more specific exactly on the request so we can run it by the architects.
And I'll refrain from that. So, the thing that I wanted to put on the agenda and was discussion, possible action on donating the Muddledy Grade School property to Falta Shelter.
To what?
To the Falta shelter.
To the Falta Shelter.
Where the Muddledy School
okay.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Donated to the
Gotcha.
Falta shelter.
Yeah, now, well, we'll discuss that. But
That'll be on the next meeting. That'll be
on the 5th.
discussed.
Do we have
All
a,
that.
yeah, we rent that to them for $1 a year or something?
$150 a year.
$100 a month.
$100 a month? Is that what it is?
We don't have to pay upkeep on that, do we? Haven't been.
Not that I'm aware of.
They do all their upkeep. Actually, Coca-Cola was living a lot.
Any other items for future agendas? Okay, future meeting dates. Regular meeting Tuesday, September 5th. And do y'all think we need to move that meeting?
That's the day we go to Charles, the meeting.
No, we'll do it Friday.
Tuesday, September 5th. The meeting's going to be at 4 o'clock. And it's going to start as a public, what was the word we used?
Hearing.
I wasn't hearing.
Learning,
Pardon?
they say public learning,
But listening.
listening.
Public listening.
It's where the board will listen to the public concerning the 3 options. And that was recommended, well, that's what we have to do on our next step, according to our law. We have to have a public comment, 2 public comment meetings, and a 30-day public comment period. So the next 2 meetings will be at 4 o'clock, and we'll start with up to 2 hours of public comments. Do you all think we need to move those? Do you think we'll have more than we can hold?
Like, line up the hallway, take turns.
Yeah, you could do that. You have a waiting room for the speaker to do their speaking.
And they did say that whoever's going to speak, it would be good if they had it in writing too, to be able to
Sign them up or.
hand it, whatever they spoke, did they say, they suggested that speakers also bring a written statement, maybe?
Yeah, limited to 3 minutes.
Will we need a court reporter for those 2 hours?
Yes. They said it would need to
Be
be
the
reviewed.
safest thing to do, yeah.
They said it would need to
Kelly,
be,
it's transcribed word for word.
yes.
Okay. Do I need to notice that as a separate meeting, like from 4 to 6?
I don't think so. I think that we can
We just need to
take it in
renotice.
starting at 4 o'clock, and that would be the first part of the meeting, being followed by the regular board meeting after that.
Okay.
The way we always did it before is, we would start at 4 o'clock, and then we'd say immediately followed by the regular board meeting, because if you start at 4 o'clock and you have 2 people show up, you're sitting around for 2 hours waiting for the meeting to start. So if you put it in the announcement, immediately followed by the Board of Education meeting, then it saves you a lot of time.
Okay.
But we're still gonna allow 2 hours in the event
In
that
yeah.
somebody's coming in from work at 5 o'clock or after.
Yeah, we really need to find out who's coming and.
Yeah, they should sign up just like they do
Yeah,
regularly.
if they do, we can find out what time they'll be here. It's starting at 4 o'clock, so yeah, you can do that if you want. Rather than waiting an hour and a half between conversations.
We had big meetings,
Well, I think,
but here before.
And that, the lawyer instructed us, you know, that was a hearing, it was for them to speak, not for us to respond. So she will respond to any comment that was made.
they supposed to do too.
Yes. She'll respond. Our lawyer will respond at a later date, but not, it's, only thing it is to hear their concerns.
So will that be 3 minutes, like delegations?
That's what they suggested.
Okay.
Okay.
Those will both be held here. Okay.
We'll hold the first one here, and if it's like, if it gets crowded, then the next time we'll move it somewhere. So. Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I made that motion.
Mr. Berry makes a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Green. All in favor? Aye. At 7:45.